Thank you so much for the work you are doing in preserving our culture. I think we really have to commend you for all that you're doing to always remind us of the importance of how to preserve and protect our identity as Africans, our culture, heritage, and all that. I need
Yeah.
to commend you for that.
Thank you so much. But you are most commendable as well. I mean, having organized the Ghana Day High Life Festival. Now, tell me, when it came out that we're organizing a High Life Festival in Switzerland, I told myself this must be the first time we are having such a festival in Switzerland. Was I right?
Yeah, that is really right. I think to put that on record, this is the very first high life open air concert ever to be staged anywhere in the world, even in Ghana.
Wow.
Just to put that on record.
Wow.
So this did not just happen out of the blue moon. I've always been an advocate of trying to preserve and protect our music.
Yeah.
I think some people within the media space know what I've been doing, especially for artists, trying to get artists what they are due, trying to advocate for certain injustices that are being perpetuated against artists and all that. But I felt that it was time for us to be able to create the space within which our music, which is the high life music, can transcend, and to have a space that is influential in itself in terms of dispensation and in terms of wide and reach. And so that was the motivation in developing this whole high life open air concert, which is more in the concept of how Jamaican reggae music was able to conquer the world. So it's just the same blueprint that I took and then decided to build upon that to create this beautiful phenomenon.
I'm sure that you have had this idea in your mind for a very long time. But what was the immediate impetus that made you jump on it for this year, for the High Life Festival?
So the whole thing was I had this idea for a long time. I think I spoke to a certain people within the industry. I spoke to somebody like Dada Hafko within the industry about it. I want to do this, but what kicked me was I went to an Alicia Keys concert in Harlem Stadium, about 10,000 seater capacity.
Wow.
And midway through the concert, she did a 40 minutes rendition on a Boteless repertoire, which wow. I was sitting in the crowd. I was like, wait a minute, this is entirely a Botella.
Wow.
Only for me to chance on a video podcast where Swiss Beats was asking the panelists if they've heard of Ebotela. So it just hits me like, wait a minute, that is Keys' husband. Alicia Keys did an absolute 40 minutes rendition on Ebotela. And the crowd went crazy for it. So there is the market for it.
Yeah.
There is the interest for our music.
Right.
What can we do to really put the music out there in the scale that we can actually let people understand that this is music from our direct origin? So this was what really kicked me, and I went full on to really create this and make it happen.
Interesting.
This was the biggest push or the biggest kick that I got. And that reality was what gave me that huge motivation to go ahead and stage this.
Thanks so much, Philipe Wangyims. Hear me now. Now, I know that you held this in an open space and the crowd was huge and big. And it was mostly white people coming in to check that. And
exactly.
It was a very beautiful crowd. But I also realized that there was another festival that had been going on around the same venue at the time that we were hosting the High Life Festival. Do you think you would have had a bigger crowd if that festival was not there?
Interestingly, this festival has existed for over, this was their 21st edition, so 21 years. It's called the Caliente. It's the biggest South American festival outside of South America. So when I brought this up and we wanted to stage it on the same period or the same day within the same jurisdiction area, people said our event was going to fail. But what was interesting was when we staged ours, the entire program from that part was empty.
Wow.
It was sad. Everybody was at the Ghana Day Festival. It was packed full. People wanted to have the feel of the authentic live music, not playback. People stayed on. We had the program until 2 a.m. in the morning.
Wow. Wow.
And the impact that our first edition had has even influenced the date that we were thinking of staging for next year.
Tell me more.
Because the city council are quite concerned of the survival of Caliente, and which is it's pretty strange because this is our first edition. The first edition of the High Life Festival is already threatening one of the biggest South American festivals outside of South America.
Wow. 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 Wow.
What does it tell us? It tells us the huge impact and the huge demand for live band music, for high life music, for proper musicians showing the authentic music that we've always been part of. Mind you that in the 70s, 60s, 70s, 80s, when those TBCs were touring, they were closing stadiums, they were closing festivals and all that. So that interest there is still there. And that is what this Ghana Day Festival actually exposed, that the interest is there. But the most important is, how are we going to leverage on the interest and build it bigger and try to be able to put it in more spaces so that the music would survive and our artists will now have the space to go and showcase their high life talents and all that. And not that because there is no space, they have to box themselves and become some other artists so that they can go and share other spaces in other genres. So you have beautiful high life artists in Ghana, and because there are no spaces whatsoever for them to be able to perform, they've all become Afrobeat artists, they've become dancehall artists, they've become just because those stages are available and they want to share in those spaces.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you again, is it Alicante or Caliente? Caliente, I think
Caliente.
It's Caliente. Is it going to threaten the next edition? Are you being threatened that you might lose the date for the next edition?
Currently we've been invited for a sit down because the city wants to protect both festivals. The city president really loved it and decided to ask. He actually told me personally that I should add one day to it. So we were doing it on the Friday and Saturday, 2 days, and he asked me to add a Sunday to it. So then it becomes a 3-day event because he looked at it and was like, wow, this is nothing I've seen.
Wow.
So the interest is there for the High Life Festival. The interest is there to also sustain the South American Festival. So we've been asked to have a sit down and then be able to come to a consensus whereby both events can actually stay and exist.
I'm going to ask you again.
So I wouldn't say it's a threat.
Okay.
I think they are trying to get the best for the city and to sustain both for the city.
Why was it so pressing for the two festivals to play at the same time? You couldn't have separated the dates. What happened?
Okay, so this event did not really start now. I started it as a small event with the Ghanaian community on this very same day, but not on this venue.
Okay.
So we had used the same timing to continuously host it, but we used to host it in a park, in a small space, more like how do you call it? I would say a park per se. It was a park. So the attention was there on the date. So when we got the venue, we actually requested the date, the date on the same dates that we've been doing it in smaller pieces, you know.
Right.
And we felt that it was because we've been hosting it in this date, we just had to maintain it.
Right.
And then have that continuity to it. But then Caliente also existed within those dates as well. So when we got the venue in the same jurisdiction, we couldn't change our date because we did the first edition was in 2018, so you can imagine. It happened in 2018. We did it in 2018. We did it in 2019. 2020, COVID came. We couldn't do it in 2021. We did it last year also as a small one, And then it was last year that the police told us that, look, this thing is growing. You cannot do it here anymore.
Wow.
Take it to the city center.
Wow.
So we went to bid for the city center with the same dates that we've been doing it since 2018.
Right.
So that was the reason why we ended up having that clash of a date in the same jurisdiction with them.
Interestingly, and High Life Music won. Now, how easy was it to gather and garner sponsorship and also garner all these Ghanaian artists? I think you had about 15 different artists coming to play, right?
Exactly. We flew in 15 different artists to Zurich.
Wow.
But what is interesting is we didn't have any sponsors.
Wow.
This entire program cost myself and my team over 60,000 euros.
Wow.
And it had no sponsorship, nothing, no
this
support
is 3FM.
or anything of that sort. Yeah.
This is
I think,
3FM.
Yeah. It was. But you know what I believe in? They say you put your money where your mouth is.
That's true.
If you believe in something, nothing will stop you. But at the moment, this is what I'm saying. At the moment, if the government institution wants to leverage on the space, because Zurich or Switzerland is one place that kills a lot of. It's like one stone that kills a lot of birds.
Interesting.
And I think one of the appeal I'll put out there is our governmental institution should stop, or not to stop looking into, but to open up into other jurisdictions rather than the consistent UK-US. The world is bigger than the United Kingdom and US alone.
That's very true.
They need to focus on other jurisdictions. And Zurich is one centralized area that transcends into Italy, Germany,
France,
and the Romandish Eastern European countries.
I agree with you.
Because the official language of Switzerland is Italian, German, French, and Romandish.
Interesting.
It is the only country within the jurisdiction that has more official languages. Because if you go to France, entirely they speak French.
Okay.
If you go to Italy, they speak Italian. If you go to Germany, they speak German. But if you come to Switzerland, within the Zurich, Bern, Basel regions are the regions within the German sector. If you go to Geneva, Lausanne, Neuchâtel, they are within the French region. If you go to Lugano, Ticino, and all those places, Como, it's a walking distance into Italy.
Right.
And their news media actually broadcast into these countries. So it's one country that has a huge market that goes into all these countries. And that is why all the international bodies are set up here, because it's a strategic market for them.
Interesting. Okay.
So if our governmental institution or corporate Ghana wants to be able to reach out to these markets, Switzerland is one market that they can use into getting into all these markets.
Okay.
And this is what the Ghana Day Festival and the High Life Music is all about.
Okay.
It is not just about the music alone. It's also about trying to get the Ghanaian produce and all that also onto the shelves of all these markets.
Yes, I was told that you served banku and all that. People were eating zafi and the rest. White people were trying to eat it with spoons and all that. Banku with spoon.
Yeah, besides the music, the food was there. I still have a takeaway from Wache in my freezer.
Wow.
You know, there was everything, like Belka Crow, Buff Roads.
Wow.
Everything. Banku. Wow. They made the banku there. The people could see it, you know, because the theme of the whole thing was see Ghana and feel Ghana.
Interesting.
So how do you see Ghana? We brought Ghana to them.
Interesting. You must be the next ambassador of Ghana to Switzerland. But before then, tell me, we were told that you ordered that all the music that was supposed to be played there should be 100% Ghanaian. Are you a hater of Afrobeat and those other, types of music from Africa?
Yeah, that is true. I brought a Ghanaian DJ from Italy. He came highly recommended. And one of the first instructions I gave was, I don't want to hear any foreign music, 100% Ghanaian songs.
Okay.
And I remember he said something, but there are other African countries here. I see Cameroonians. I said, look, yeah, they are here, but you are not playing any song apart from Ghanaian songs.
Interesting.
And I don't have to say much. The videos are there to speak for itself.
That's true. That's true.
The video, the crowd, it's there to speak for itself. And it makes me, after the event, when we had the conversation right after I told him, to me, I measure Ghanaian DJs this way. If you're a Ghanaian DJ and you cannot move a crowd for 2 hours with complete Ghanaian music, you cannot call yourself a DJ.
No, you can't.
Because I have lived in South Africa for over 6 years.
Wow.
I worked in radio in South Africa for Star FM South Africa. And I can tell you, a South African DJ can host a show, move a crowd for 6 hours straight without playing a single song outside of South Africa.
Interesting. Finally, Wangyims, I want to ask you this. Among the 15 artists, which one of the artists truly moved the crowd? I know all of them did their bit, but which was the toast of the fans?
I'm not going to put a finger on one.
Okay.
But I could point on three. But
okay.
The last three is like two artists. I think one person episode was one person that really moved the crowd.
This is 3FM
with the star. And then there was Dada KD. Wow, that was like the ladies were. What was interesting was the way the white people were trending to his soulful song without even understanding the words of the song.
Wow.
It just speaks volume of how music is spiritual.
That's right.
You know?
That's right.
And then there was Ohineba Kisi's performance. It was even raining. And people were still in the rain. Ohineba Kisi and Akablaze Band at the end when they took over.
Wow.
It was raining.
This
but I also have to commend Dada Hafko because he was the one who opened up.
Oh, wow.
And it was his performance that started bringing people together.
Interesting.
You know? As the first artist who opened up, his performance really drew them all in. And then he did that thing of trying to have the recitals of his song with the crowd, which was really, really good.
Wow.
So I need to really commend all these artists for what they did. But it also comes down to the preparation. Artists did not just fly to Switzerland to perform. All the artists had the opportunity to rehearse for 2 weeks.
Okay.
Which you can find out from them.
Yeah.
In Ghana, they were rehearsed with the band for 2 weeks. So they didn't just come and then hop on the stage to perform. No. They knew exactly what they were going to do.
I want to thank you.
They had planned, prepped their preparation, rehearsed with the band before they even boarded the airplane to come here.
All right. So, Wangyims, I want to say thank you so much, and more oil on your head, more oil on your elbows, and more oil everywhere you need oil. Finally, which of the artists did not perform too well or was not received too well?
I wouldn't say any of them was not received. I think all of them did their bits.
Okay.
Because, most of them every artist had a different style.
Yeah, that's right.
And then their styles were responded in different proportions. So you would not say because an artist had a soulful song which was slow and the crowd wasn't so cheerful and bumping to it, the artist did not perform well. Neither would you say because the artist's energy to his song was really hyper tempo, the crowd were jumping, so that artist did very well. I wouldn't really say that. I would say that their music was responded in proportions of the way the tempo and the music moved.
Thank you so much, Wangyims. I appreciate you. Thanks for speaking with us. We're going to find
before
time
we
to
go, I would like to I would also like to say a big thank you to certain people that really help. It's not me alone. It's a team. I would like to thank Frankie Five.
Okay.
Franco Usu of Ghana Creative Arts Council. I think he did virtually all the groundwork in Ghana for me, with the artist visa application, filling out the forms, going with them to the VFS and all that. It was Frankie who did everything, and I would say without him we couldn't have pulled this off. And also to thank my team, the Association of Ghanaian Unions of Switzerland, the President Nuruddin, Christina, the Secretary, the Treasurer, Auntie Leslie, the Secretary, Uncle Jeff, the founder of Agus, and Aziz, Diapao, all the team. Everybody was up and working, running through hotels, airport pickups, and all that.
Thank you
to
so
really
much.
Make this a success. And with next year, it's even going to be bigger than this.
Thank you so much, Wangyims. We appreciate you. We love you. Blessed love.
Thank you so much too.
Ebotela.